No, mi chiamo Kristen. I'm Kristen, and I'm excited to be here to tell you that we have a closing day on our apartment, and that is so exciting. And I know that a lot of you who are interested in potentially moving to Italy or Sicily, you want to know how long this process will actually take. So I thought since I finally have a closing day, I would give you the timeline of how long it took for us to come up from the start to the finish on closing our apartment in Sicily. So here it is. Okay, so the first day that we saw our apartment was on June 27th of 2025. On that day, we saw lots of apartments with an amazing person who took us through that was part of the organization that we were using. Remember, in Italy, every property has its own realtor, so it's a little bit harder, and they're not great on the whole at getting back to you. So that was one reason why using a service was really good for us. So we started on June the 27th. On July the 2nd, we placed our offer. There's a little bit of back and forth, not a lot, maybe over 2 days. We had a little bit of back and forth. And then on July 8th, we had our offer officially accepted. So from June 27th to July 8th is how long it took to get the actual offer accepted. Then on July the 15th, literally a week later, deposit had to be paid. For us, that was a $5,000 deposit down just to kind of hold everything. What they told us was they'll take it off the market. But what we learned later on is that does not mean they'll remove it from the website, because properties that are in good condition, like ours were, draws attention to the actual realtor and to their services. And so that's one of the things that they were doing was they were still showing our place, but when people clicked on it to say, give me more information, they would say, oh, actually, that property is gone now. Right. So don't be surprised if that happens. So July 15th, it technically became ours. Right. So August, we move into August from July. Nothing happens in August in Italy. Nothing. The whole country, I kid you not, the whole country goes on vacation. They all go on holiday. Cool. But nothing happened in the entire month of August. It might as well not have been there. So then September 5th is when they started our due diligence, which is basically what we would call in the United States, where they go and look over the property, make sure there's no liens on it, there's no major damages to it. It kind of like is like a listing report of everything that's going on. So that happened on September the 5th, and then we got the report back on September the 12th. The surveyor that we worked with was very efficient, very quick, no problems. Told us that we had two problems that they could foresee being problems. One was that on our top deck, a little cover had been illegally built there, which means they just didn't go through the permits process. And so they said, hey, do you want us to what they called regularize it? And we're like, yes, because we don't want someone to come back to us later on and charge us a whole bunch of money to regularize it. Why don't you do that? And we learned very quickly that it was not like negotiating in the United States. It wasn't like you say, okay, seller, you're now going to pay for this. Very rarely well, none of the time. Our seller basically said, no, you've got the best price I'm going to give you. It was basically an as is. We didn't know that at the time, but that was basically what I would say you need to expect. So if you want anything changed, then you're probably going to need to pay for it. That's just the experience that we had. So report was done on 12th. They set after that report was done and back to us, they set the actual closing date to be on September 31st. But then when they came to us like literally 3 or 4 days before and said, okay, do you want to regularize or do you not? It's going to be an extra, I think it was like $4,000. And I was like, yep, I want it. And so that means they had to move the dates, because when you regularize, you are at the mercy of the municipality, right? Like however long it takes them to get it done is however long it takes for you to get it done. So that happened on October 29th. We heard nothing. We just heard today. I'm sorry. That was on September 31st. On October 29th, which is today, we found out that the regularization is done, and they basically said, transfer us the money as fast as humanly possible. Luckily, we had gone through smart currency exchange, so the money was all sitting there ready to go. And so we were able to transfer all of that money today. So it'll be there in time for closing on November the 14th. We're not going to the closing. We have a notary who is doing the closing for us. We did have to pay for that. And so that's one of the things you'll have to consider. it probably honestly would have been cheaper for us to just go. But I think we still would have had to pay for the notary to do forms in some fashion. I will tell you that notaries have significantly more power in Italy. They're kind of more like lawyers in the United States. So like when you think of a notary in the US, it's just somebody who has gotten approval and gotten the official stamp to be able to be like, "Yep, this is indeed Kristen and she has indeed signed whatever this thing is." Way more power when it comes to Italians. So yeah, just kind of making sure that you know that. So it took us basically from June 27th to November the 14th, from start to finish. We happened to be in the process where the entire month of August was going to be off. So I would say in most normal times of the year that doesn't include August, you could probably expect it to move faster. But that's how long it took us to go from start to finish. I'm excited to be able to take you guys along with us. I'm actually heading over there on the 14th. We had already planned on going. And so on the 14th, we'll pick up the keys on the 17th, and then we'll head over to the new apartment and show you. And we're going to do a little sprucing up, redecorating. The apartment did come with all the furniture. So there's a little bit of a like, how much of that do you want to replace and how fast you want to replace that? But there's definitely some style things that we'll kind of make a move on. But yeah, excited to take you along on this journey. And that's how long it took for us to get our process done.